Welcome everyone to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and with me is...
some guy she picked up off the street.
Not the street.
Some debate society rant meeting. It is me, Kyle Gould, husband, fellow podcaster.
Yes.
Of Marie-Claire Gould.
And we've switched gears a little bit from live streaming our Marvel TV show deep dive on the other channel on YouTube /podcast, What the Fiction, to deep dive into the Bad Batch. And so
I don't know how deep this pool is.
Well, I mean, we're going to cover it, right? And it'll be fun. And there is things to talk about, certainly.
Absolutely. There are definitely things to talk about. I just don't know if they're particularly deep.
This is the Bad Batch report. I didn't call it a deep dive.
No, that's good. A report definitely is a good way to start this.
And this is a continuation of our Clone Wars special report that we did for the Clone Wars. Now we're going to be covering the Bad Batch. And much like...
it's like after hours. It's just like, you know, like after a hockey game, how they have like the pre-show, which you get every single episode when they do the rehash in the 1950s, 1920s radio voice style. The same thing that Avatar does, the same thing that Clone Wars has done every single time, right? In that newscaster report way. Then you get the meat, the game of it. This is kind of like after hours talk on the radio.
Like after sports,
Exactly. We got nothing until CBS picks us up at midnight and we have, an hour and a half to kill. Let's take some callers. Let's shoot the stuff about the game that just happened and see where we go.
And so we're here to enjoy it. No, I have to say, I heard about this, of course, you know, when everybody else did, when it was announced. And I was like, but who is this for? And I didn't mean to be like, so, I don't know. People took it as a negative thing that I was like, but who is this for? Because I couldn't tell by the kind of teaser trailer for the Bad Batch. Like, I'm like, okay, like I saw the Bad Batch in the Clone Wars, which was a particular type of lens. And certainly everybody guessed that the Bad Batch would be like, this felt like an intro episode to a television show, the 4-episode arc, right?
Absolutely.
And I remember being like, okay, like I too loved the Ninja Turtles when I was a kid. I watched them all the time. And I think on our episodes when we cover the Bad Batch for Clone Wars Season 7, I'm like, normally there's a girl character that kind of counterbalances these like very masculine men that are doing their very masculine things and helps them remind them of their own femininity and sensitivity and vulnerability, right? Like that's always a thing that these shows have.
Assuredly a trope.
What happened in the first episodes of the Bad Batch television show? We get introduced to a girl character. They call her an adolescent girl. I feel like she's pre-adolescent, just age-wise.
She's just an adolescent.
Yeah.
Pre-adolescent would mean make her like a toddler.
I feel like she's like a preteen.
She should be a teen?
She's a preteen.
She definitely seems more Will's age than Robin's
like 9, 8.
So that would make her an adolescent.
9. Yeah, okay. And like that's exactly what we get.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like reminder of humanity, reminder of their own internal vulnerabilities, especially with sort of little movements and little moments throughout the show. But in general, I have zero complaints and I almost cried, which is I was not expecting.
I don't really have any complaints.
Yeah.
I just had a lot of, you know, like a slight shrug of the shoulders, a tweak of the eyebrow. You know, it's not a huge emotional reaction for me, but at the same time, okay, all right, I'm in. I'm doing this with you, and that's Star Wars, and I love the animation style. Like, I love the animation style so much. I went out and got all the Disney Infinity figures because they look so much like this animation style.
Definitely, yeah.
That I'm in, and I'm sold, and I'm there 100%.
It really does.
100% there.
Yeah.
But I don't...
Okay, where's your trepidation coming from?
I wasn't particularly entertained.
Huh.
I wasn't enlightened, and it didn't take Star Wars anywhere new.
It certainly did not do that. It recapped
If I have to hear Palpatine say execute Order 66 again, I'll be like Wrecker on the wall of their barracks.
Cell. Yeah, it's like
another successful mission. They're always successful. Like
we need a count. So when we did the Clone Wars special report, we did death count, which we will get to. But I think that we should rename it to Wrecker's count for this.
You were saying that earlier.
Because, he's the one who keeps count of successful missions.
Well, tracks successful missions. I want to track how many droids are we killing and how many people are we killing. I feel like we already got the Bad Batch. We already know who they are. We kind of know how they operated. They're like Clone Force 99. They're the superheroes of clonedom.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so maybe this isn't the thing that's going to take me someplace new. Maybe it's the rest of the series that's going to take me someplace new.
It certainly is showing, at least in the introduction, and we'll walk through the episode a little bit, I'm sure. It's showing where the roots of the rebellion came from.
Right.
And I suspect that they'll have at least a part in that. I mean, they met Saw, so that's, laying up stuff.
Proto-rebellion Saw.
Exactly.
Guerrera.
He's like, whoa, we're in a civil war.
I'm not part of the rebellion. I'm my own thing. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, and he's like, we're already in a civil war. It's like, okay. So
I just saw Guerrera, and let's talk about him for a second here too, because he's so skinny and good looking. And saw Guerrera in, is it Solo? Rogue One. Solo in Rogue One is just so not this guy.
Well, it's hard living on Jeddah.
Must be good living. I don't know. I would prefer.
He's missing a leg.
Exactly.
And he's got a ventilator.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would have preferred them draw more from the Saw Gerrera from Rogue One, at least appearance wise, at least there's still skin color.
Yeah, I did want to comment on that, which is, a good friend of mine, T'Challa Fett, on Twitter commented, is this the right time to have the conversation about Star Wars and skin tone and what they are doing with the characters? Not just that, but also Kanan, Caleb Doom, that doesn't even look like the same, even from the comics. The comics lightened him a fair amount too, and it's just not super acceptable to see. And us as two very white people, when we're noticing it and it doesn't seem like the same character at all, it is a little startling. And Lucasfilm really needs to figure that out, because it does seem like they have a problem. I feel bad for any fan of color that is watching these shows and watching that happen and then seeing their representation being stripped away for whiteness.
Yeah, the last thing we really want is Star Wars so white. I mean, it's literally a galaxy where there is no human racism, because humans are humans and other races are other races. That's other species and sentient life are there's blue people and orange people, and there's people with 4 arms. There's people with tentacles for hair. We should be able to see all manners of human skin color and human people out there in the galaxy, right?
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
I can only assume that it's very earthly related reasons, and that sucks.
Yeah.
You
want to know what my first question of the episode was?
Oh, you wrote down questions? Okay.
Well, I had a question for myself. It was the first thing I wrote on a piece of paper. Who is Caleb? Because I only remember Caleb Dune as the wolf saying it.
Oh, when he's like, Doom, in Rebels. Okay,
yeah,
so
I did not know that Kanan's real name was Caleb
Doom.
Had no idea.
Yeah, that is it's not called out a lot in Rebels. It's called out maybe a couple of times,
later season stuff.
Yeah,
Ezra, the wolf talking to him.
I mean, that happens, but I think it comes up before that. But you have to be a fan of Rebels, or have read A New Dawn, the book, or have read the Kanan comic.
None of those things I have done.
Yeah.
I have not done any of those things.
Yeah, and so it's either one of those like, hey, wink, wink to the people that have watched Rebels.
So then when the Jedi, whose name I completely have forgotten.
Depa Baloba?
Yeah, Baloba.
Yep.
I was like, isn't that the girl that was like not really there, but a ghost and ethereally walked through they found her remains? I was like, because she was being held.
No, that was a different.
And that was even another Jedi who
Jedi
I keep
Luminara.
thinking is Luminara.
Yeah.
All right. So they're all the same to me. All these Jedi ladies, they're just the same apparently. I cannot get them right.
I mean, none of them had really speaking roles.
Fair.
But Depa Baloba was actually in like Senator Palpatine's office and in the council chambers. And, she just never got to speak.
Huh.
In like the movies.
Should have gotten him more of a chance to speak.
Yeah.
She's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The way she trusted Caleb.
Yes.
Well, they said they were an army. It's 5 guys. I trust Caleb. And
exactly.
Sure enough.
I really liked the introduction because it was very interesting to have Caleb introduce the Bad Batch being like, you've never seen these clones before, like awe-inspired, and like that's got to be some of the relationship that the younger Padawans and the clones had, and we saw that reflected in Ahsoka and Rex and their relationship, and
absolutely,
like all of the 501st and Ahsoka's like relationship.
Exactly. Also, they introduce him because it's for 2 reasons. Like everything they're doing in this episode, they're doing for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
So they're giving us Caleb Doom because it's a wink and a nod to everybody who's read the supporting stuff and remembers Kanan is named.
watched Rebels.
Well, I watched Rebels. I still didn't remember.
It was in there.
I'm sure it was.
You didn't watch it like 4 times like I did every episode.
But to that point,
yeah,
they cannot save Caleb.
Yeah.
They cannot. They walk away. Caleb has run from them. They're a danger. They're scary. And so that sets up perfectly for meeting Omega and then deciding this is a kid we can save.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's done specifically for storytelling reasons to give us that beat, to give you you failed with this one, but you will not with that one.
Yeah. And that's
really well done.
I absolutely love that this episode was almost cut into 3 parts, but it flowed together well. And I commented on the end when I look at the credits, I'm like, 3 directors. And you're like, that makes so much sense.
I don't know why they didn't release it as 3 episodes.
Yeah, it could have just been, because we'll probably get like 22-minute long episodes in the future.
It's Disney Plus. They can do whatever they want. We were going to binge it anyway, right?
Yeah.
It's just, why not parse it out over the 3 weeks? I think because they don't have as much time, because they like to have the one thing to draw you in, right? And leave you there. You watch a little bit of this new show, and then you stick around to watch something else that piqued your interest. And then you come back next week to watch more of that show. Oh, something else caught your interest. You watch that too.
Yeah. I just noticed like when they did Rebels and when they did Resistance, they did longer first episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
To like draw you in.
Well, they need to set tone.
Yeah.
And they need to set place, and they need to set theme. And so in order to do that, you can't do that in a 22-minute episode.
Yeah.
That's just too hard to get all of those things that you want to get done there. But yeah, character, if you're writing them down. There are a lot of things you need to do to establish where your story is going and what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
And those few things are what you want to, because at the end of the day, we're telling a story. And if you're going to tell a story, you want somebody to walk away with a good memory of it. You have to establish those things in order for it to both orient your viewer, and also to give them catharsis when they need it.
Yeah, and also to tell us what to expect out of it and what they're going to get. Right? What are you going to get out of this story? Mm-hmm. I do think that, much like the closing time story, every new beginning is some of their beginnings end, right?
Yeah.
It felt like that, especially with the logo, with, closing up of the Clone Wars from what we know, right?
Yeah.
Where Revenge of the Sith ends, where the Clone Wars Season 7 ends, like where all these things are ending. They wanted to show us continuity-wise to hook us into this timeline, and now we have all of these stories that have offshot from it, like Ahsoka's story has offshot, and Kenobi's story is going to offshoot from that. We might even see that happen again. We might even see the end of the Clone Wars again with Kenobi. I I personally don't ever need to see the end of the Clone Wars. I tweeted about this. I said, oh my God, we're going to see the end of the Clone Wars again. It's fine. This makes sense. But where the journey's beginning actually starts is on the journey home, which is fascinating. And they even like, oh, it's so nice to be home. How long has it been?
Well, it smells like it's been a long time. I actually, TV and visual medium is not, radio is not a good medium for smell.
No.
I really got that smell.
When they entered they
walked into their barracks.
Their barracks, yeah.
They're like, whoa. And it was mentioned a couple of other times too, especially by AZ and Omega when they went into the barracks later on.
Yeah.
Which was just delightful as well. Really well executed scene for good motivational purposes, right?
Yeah.
You get to see like, these are the star quarterback and his linebackers, football players, and they don't take care of their funky stuff.
Like any 501st person, James Dalton included, has told me how bad kit smells when you don't take care of it, you don't wash it regularly.
Yeah. Like anyone who wears padding and armor, hockey or any sport like football is going to have that
funk.
Yep, that baseline of odor. And I really felt it when you could see like the scuzz of the barracks that they had.
Yeah.
It was neat though that they all bunked together, the four of them.
Oh, I wanted to ask what you thought of, like they've been chosen the Bad Batch because of their genetic abnormalities.
Yeah, it seemed like it was intentional on the Kaminoans' part to do that.
But
to draw
not
that out.
Intentional when they found them and then they drew that out or something like that. It kind of flipped back and forth a little bit. But what did you think of that overwriting, like the programming aspect? I
was glad. I knew that they were not going to be on the side of Order 66 because is that really the show that we were going to get where they're like Tarkin's 5? That would not. I wouldn't have watched that show.
This isn't a kids' show anymore.
Yeah, that's like. Let's go hunt down the loose Jedi out there. And then yet...
Some people would like that show.
We're still going to get part of that show.
I know. Isn't that...
Because doesn't Crosshair look a lot like an Inquisitor in some ways? Doesn't he have that like thin, sallow, short hair?
Yeah.
Kind of emotionless voice?
Yeah, I do think that it's important that like the chip and like the dark inclination and the inclination to kind of go along with the darkness is a common theme with the clones and like what ends up happening in the stormtroopers and the First Order. They all have this thing, and it's very much along the lines of
it's the easiest form of brainwashing you can ever get.
Yeah, but it is all just like a parallel to the dark side in Star Wars, right? Okay. That people get overcome and then they end up just becoming a slave to it. It is like that.
That's an interesting analogy. It definitely felt like they thought one way and now they cannot think that way anymore because purple light has been passed through their head.
Oh, you mean with the chip?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Crosshair certainly does look more dark-sidey, typical than the rest of them. And I wondered that. I was like, I was always like, Echo and Tech seem to function the same purpose. They actually do the same things like multiple times in the episode. I was like, do they really need to both be on the same side? But then they took Crosshair, who's like the murder baby boy, and like made him like fully go dark side. And I was like, oh, I guess we still have Tech and Echo.
Exactly.
They literally do the same things, Tech and Echo.
Yes. Their names are literally Ek with a T at the beginning and an O at the end. They have the same name.
It's a weird choice, right?
Well, no? I believe that they will both have different purposes down the road.
Okay.
But they didn't get any play this episode.
No.
So they're going to end up falling into the background and looking just like, okay, they're abnormal clones. We will get that. I would have liked to have seen something happen in the brig where Echo takes control of the electronics because he can, and that didn't happen. But then also they used the brig as an opportunity for Omega to shine because the kid's going to get them out of scrapes that they can't get themselves out of, and that's going to be the through line of this show in many ways.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to talk about was the brainwashing. And I'm kind of getting tired of that as a trope in Star Wars because we just got a whole season of Resistance where Kaz goes running after his mechanic friend who's decided to go become a TIE pilot.
She wasn't really brainwashed, though. She was just convinced.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean, you know.
She didn't have a chip in her head.
No, she made that choice because she thought she was upset.
And Crosshair doesn't have a choice.
No,
he doesn't get to make any choices.
He was already predetermined to slip that direction. And again, that's why it's a parallel to falling to the dark side.
But
yeah,
they illuminated it without words from the get-go. Crosshair, after Order 66 is executed, doesn't take his helmet off. Everybody else of the Clone Force 99, they all do. But Crosshair keeps his helmet on. And I was tracking when they got back, all of the other clones don't take their helmets off until they go to the mess hall and they have the big food fight, which was adorable. But they don't take their helmets off when they're out in public.
And
their helmets remain on. Crosshair also keeps his helmet on. He doesn't take his helmet off. That's their first visual showing to us something's wrong. He is not like the rest of Clone Force 99 anymore. He's more like a regular trooper.
Right.
If you're paying attention.
Oh, cool. Good catch.
Yeah, that's literally, I was like, Crosshair helmet. Then they go to their barracks, and that's when Crosshair finally takes his helmet off.
But we first meet Omega.
Yes.
And in the hallway, and Omega is assisting one of the chief medical Kaminoans.
Yep.
And we learn later on in the episode that she is actually a clone. You're pretty sure that she is a clone of Jango.
Yes, she's absolutely.
You're pretty sure. You're pretty sure she is a clone of Jango.
I am 100% willing to bet on the fact that she is a clone of Jango Fett. That two X's of Jango Fett have been put together instead of an X and a Y of Jango Fett to create this feminine clone.
I do want to point out
female clone.
Yeah, I do want to point out at the end of the episode that they kind of like create a semi-mystery box with what the president and the chief medical...
Prime Minister.
Sorry,
yes.
Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Say, we're in Canada. We should get that.
I know.
But they do kind of say, okay, so, the rest of Clone Force 99 has disappeared and with Omega. And then they allude to this, well, let's not say anything yet about what is going on with these clones because 4 out of the 5 defect clones have disappeared. And so is it something about Omega? Is it something about the defective clones? What is it?
Yeah, I'm worried for the Kaminoans.
I know, right? They're like, this deal is getting worse all the time.
I mean, they feel like they could just be snapped in like twigs, like just broken by their own clones.
Yeah.
I'm very worried.
And they don't really have like protection against them. Maybe they have some programming in there.
The Emperor has never liked Kamino.
No.
Tarkin doesn't like
He doesn't
Kamino.
like aliens.
I know. And here are these super high-tech aliens.
With the power to create an army?
Yep.
At their fingertips. They've basically turned their entire planet into a cloning development for like the Republic.
They're a cloning resource.
Yep.
Other places are shipyards.
It's really human resources.
Mm-hmm.
Cloning resources? Cloning resources. Yeah, I love that.
Probably.
I just can't imagine the red tape.
One of the things I like to talk about when we talk about this is how many scenes were there?
Yeah.
Any guesses as to how many scenes?
Oh, was there like...
The show had?
8?
Oh gosh, no.
Was there way more than that?
It was a 72-minute show.
I don't know.
There are 28 scenes.
Ooh.
28 distinctive change to locations. I kind of amalgamated everything that happens on is it Kabor, the forest road? I wrote down Kabor, but I don't think that's right. Whatever that
could be.
Someone will doubtlessly tweet me and tell me I'm wrong because that's the place where Caleb Doom ran away, and it's
I could
big.
Google it, but I'm
anyway,
not
so
going to.
The forest road scene with the flashback all happening there. I didn't count the flashback because that's preamble. Once we get there, all the scenes that lead up to them running away from that fight.
Yeah.
But it's a good point there because almost all of the death happens then. There is literally next to zero death after that scene in this entire 72-minute episode.
Wait, what about the droids in the...
Correct. The droids in the training grounds.
Yeah.
That when they turn on the blasters and then they ride the droids to their own destruction.
Yeah.
I counted those.
Okay. But they go to Onderon.
Correct.
Is that what you're talking about? Like until Onderon, then there's no deaths after? Or...
The beginning of the episode is when all the deaths happen. There's no deaths otherwise.
I mean, except for the droids in the training ground.
Yeah, that's it. Literally, no one else dies.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed. I was excited to pause
so do we want to do death count?
So let's get in and do death count.
Is it officially Wrecker's death count?
Wrecker just kills a bunch of things.
Okay.
Wrecker actually has probably the largest kill in the entire group.
This is the Bad Batch reports. Death count.
Yes, we're coming in live. We've just had counts that 36 droids have just been taken out by a giant boulder as for the third time in Star Wars. Wrecker has made use of this rather, initially an ingenious approach and now rather repetitive. Where are these boulders coming from is what everyone is asking. 36 are taken out from that initial boulder. An additional 64, the remainder of that battalion, are taken out from explosions and the rest of the fire. So the total count of droids is 125 droids are hurled from cliffs, exploded, splatted by a boulder, or in the case of the training center, 12 droids, 12 of whatever those kind of super battle droids-y type looking ones.
Right, yeah.
Were taken out.
Those are called
I did
super
not
battle
count
droids.
any of the ones that were just stunned because we knew they were just stunned. But they weren't really quite super battle droids, were they? They were just kind of like super battle droids or something.
Mm.
Anyway.
Well, the ones that are in the training ground look like death troopers, like an earlier version of a death trooper.
But it kind of like that balance between from like a super, the big chunky ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, moving.
Those are called super battle droids. Yeah.
Super battle droid to a
like an in between.
Trooper. I know.
Super death.
Seeing technology
droid.
Advance in droid development.
I have questions about Tarkin's motivations.
I have questions about where they got those droids.
Yeah. I mean, he just had them, I guess. No, but like Tarkin, like his whole thing is like he doesn't like clones, even though they're programmed, and he doesn't like droids. So he wants to recruit regular old folks. Yeah. And I'm going to say regular old folks kind of suck.
Yep.
So
Kaminoans even mentioned this. There's a huge time there when they have that Tarkin and the Kaminoans scene where he's talking about.
I mean, it's obvious because I guess stormtroopers can't hit anything. So Tarkin, why?
They are also cowardly janitors that run from fights.
I can only assume. I mean, he was a stolen child and then raised by the First Order. You're talking about.
Yeah, of course.
Finn? Okay.
I mean, I don't doubt that this is the same sort of thing happening with the stormtroopers.
I mean, Finn saw
also,
what
it sounded like forced conscription. I heard the words forced conscription in there.
Yeah. So certainly they were willing to do that. But they recruit too, right?
These are
both.
Like Russian soldiers with shovels and rakes. It sounds like that's what they're loading up into their white armor.
Yeah.
You've been conscripted into the Russian army. Here's your gun. You've been conscripted into the Russian army. Here's your bullet. Go. Like,
we've been watching The Great.
Not only that, but I've been watching a lot of Shadow and Bone, and Shadow and Bone has a lot of Russian style garb in it. So it's led me to these similar plights and similar thoughts about the value of human life. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, but what I wanted.
So let's continue with death count.
I wanted to talk about the Tarkin thing, and then you can finish with death count.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, but Tarkin, like, what is your deal? And I can only imagine the only explanation that I can come up with for this, because he's supposed to be a smart guy, but I guess he's not.
A clone stole his girlfriend.
Maybe that's the okay. So that explanation, or this is all just part of Emperor Palpatine's plan to bring more pain to the galaxy, thus increasing the dark side, which is, more pain and suffering increases the dark side's power in the galaxy. And so
Yoda told us that, right?
More people, regular people that are part of the Imperial army means more people dying, means more people suffering.
Yeah, so increasing the dark side on a macro scale as opposed to a micro personal scale.
This is macro force economics.
Yeah.
And Palpatine is a master of it.
He has his PhD.
He has his PhD in macro force economics. And he's decided to manipulate the whole market.
Is it a PhD, or do you think he got his journeyman ticket?
I feel like it's more subtle than that.
Like 2,000 practical hours?
It was a University of Phoenix mail-away course, but he used a different name.
Learned by forced correspondence. From Darth Plagueis University.
Darth Plagueis University, and there we go. That's the only explanation I can come up with why Tarkin's like, you know what? I'm just going to trust peeps.
All right, let's just go back easily to the my girlfriend was stolen by a clone.
Okay. I mean, like anything but this makes more sense.
Right.
It's so weird. And the more I see of Tarkin, the less scary he is.
Yeah. That's fair.
And that kind of sucks. Because I mean, like, okay, I liked him in Clone Wars.
It's no wonder he singled Crosshairs out, because he could have looked at Crosshairs and be like, I'm your daddy.
Well,
there's a lot of commonalities between Crosshair and Tarkin.
I see myself in this young murder maniac. All right. Okay. Sorry.
He also sees the bigger picture.
Back to death count.
All right, back to death count.
I apologize. Tarkin, what? Okay.
You can count the number of clones that died on two hands. Any guesses?
7?
That is correct. 7 clones die in this episode. It is very quick, very brief. Almost Wilhelm scream, they're gone sort of deaths. It was very hard to count them, but there's only 7, which says the clones really win the day on this one, with 7 clones losing to 125 droids.
And 1 Jedi.
And then the other falls in there, and it's 1 Jedi. So there you are. There's the totality of death count, and it all happens in the very beginning, except for the training montage.
Training droids, yeah.
Yeah, so death count will probably be quite a bit different going forward.
I suspect. Well. I mean, I think that they're going to move away from the outright.
Because this isn't war anymore. No. This is guerrilla warfare.
Potentially, yeah.
Very they're going to go on their own. They're not going to be assigned missions anymore, right?
They're going to probably have to pick up stuff to survive. It'll be like mercenary type stuff, potentially. Also learning to be other things. Then
they'll have to learn how to pick up after themselves and do their own
shower.
Laundry. They might have to stop wearing the clothes that they're wearing currently.
That would be interesting.
They can't run around as Clone Force 99 anymore.
No. They might have to paint their armor. Interesting. Or have disguises. Ooh, disguises. Costume changes.
But I will say this.
Yes.
Unlike any other show at all, all of this is basically done by one person.
Yes.
Like with Clone Wars, sure, there was a lot of this voice actor in it. But it was
you're talking about D. Bradley Baker.
Yes. DBB.
Yes.
As I'm going to call him from here on out, so we never make a mistake with his name. D. Barker Bradley.
Oh, yes.
So there's an interview with him and another individual, I'll get to them in a second, on IMDb that came out yesterday.
Ooh.
It's like 3 minutes long, and it talks about how he does it.
I've seen interviews where he talks about how he does it because I love Rex so much.
I know.
And speaking of Rex, like Echo's voice is eerily like Rex's voice, and so it like gets me in the feels. I'm like, wait, Rex, And it's not
Would you
him.
like to know why that is? Because he explains where the motivation and where the inspiration comes from these 5 clones.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So the first one,
I'll post the link to the interview.
Absolutely. It's a hoot because it's like 3 minutes long. It's great. So he breaks down the 5 real quick. And I'll do that for you as well, because what else to talk about, right? Hunter is actually almost a carbon copy ripoff of Snake from Escape from New York by
That makes
Kurt Russell.
so much sense. At least animation wise, he looks a lot like Rambo, but wow. Yeah.
He's like Rambo. He's like Snake. He's that cheap protagonist who's gritty.
Yeah.
He knows what he needs to do, and he's a leader of men.
Yes.
That's the voice. That's what he said. Crosshair, he tries to take a clone's voice and make him a coiled snake, impatient to strike.
Ooh.
That is how he finds... So the silky, quiet, always menacing element of Crosshair comes from him picturing a coiled, venomous snake ready to strike.
Ooh.
That's how he gets the motivation for Crosshair. So Wrecker, you would think, but it's not. You'd think he pictures the giant, big, super strong guy.
No. He's totally
voice.
like a teddy bear or like a child or something.
He pictures a little boy and a cloudless sky.
Oh my God.
A little boy in a cloudless sky. I don't know if there's a kite there. Maybe there should be. But that is why Wrecker has this like limitless optimism, like a cloudless sky. We could do anything today. And he embodies that in this gigantic barbarian man.
Oh my God. It makes so much sense.
I know, right? Tech was, I think, is one of the tougher ones for him. He always tries to make Tech easy breezy, clipped precise, like an iPad or a calculator. That's how he comes up with Tech.
That's so good.
Isn't that adorable?
That's adorable.
So that's how he makes the Bad Batch, who are the 4 clones that they're different. So their voices have to be different.
Yeah.
Everybody else's voices are largely the same.
Like when we did Clone Wars, they had like differences.
They have subtle different inflections, so you can know Cody's different from Rex. Echo is not. Echo's a reg. So he really had to work to get Echo to sound different. And the reason why you think he sounds a lot like Rex is because he's still a reg clone.
Yeah.
But they made and they worked at this. He would retake lines trying to get this emotion further ingrained, is that he has to sound like a grumpy man.
Aww.
He always has to sound grumpy. Aww. And that's how you get... So, of course,
my heart is exploding.
Rex has to sound grumpy all the time because he's always grumpy with Anakin's, or whatever you say, attitude, right? So, in this instance here, Echo is a grumpy man. And even if he says something short and easy, sometimes he has to do those lines again in order to get it grumpier. So this interview was done with DBB and with Jennifer Corbett.
Oh, wow. So the main...
immediately upon
I was like, who wrote this show?
I know.
Who wrote this show? And I like immediately in the end, I check out the credits and I was like, Dave Filoni and Jennifer Corbett. And I was like, she is one of the showrunners and she is the main writer for this show.
Yep. Executive
wow. Producer. And she was one of the main writers while she wrote many episodes for Resistance.
Nope. 3 episodes for Resistance.
Oh, okay.
1 in 2019 and 2 of the last 4 episodes of Resistance were written by Jennifer Corbett.
Yeah, so it definitely seems like there's been a rollover of the Resistance folks into the Bad Batch.
I don't think she comes from Resistance side, actually.
You don't think so? But
nope.
But what I was talking about was like Amy Beth Christensen, who did concept design, rolled over into this. Yeah, it would be interesting to see what the cross parallels were.
So in the interview with Jennifer Corbett on IMDb, she's talking about DBB.
Yeah.
I love how it's IMDb with DBB. That's
cute.
That's good stuff there. Jennifer Corbett says she thought while watching him do the recording and getting a feel for what he does in the thing. She's like, he's a consummate professional. Watching him perform at all is like a masterclass in voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
And I would agree. I mean, we've heard him on Crispin Freeman's podcast, which is like a 3-episode lengthy stint because he does so many voices for animals and sound effects.
Yeah.
This man is broad and diverse. When you hear him normally talk, he sounds nothing like the clones.
I know.
So she said she thought that he would go through and do all of Wrecker's stuff. And he would then go back and he would do all of Crosshair's stuff.
That's what he used to do.
That's not what he does.
No, that's what he used to do when he was doing the Clone Wars. I watched an interview and he's like, no, I do this voice for the whole episode and then I go back. He switched it up.
So Jennifer Corbett said he went through the script, recording it, and it was like he was having a conversation with himself and you could see the other characters. And if you closed your eyes or looked away at any given moment, you would literally think there was more than one person in the room.
Oh my goodness. It's literally a one-man show.
It is. And that's what I was saying. Like, if you want to talk about the Bad Batch at all, you have to talk about D. Barker Bradley.
He's got to win an Emmy. Like, he has to win an Emmy or something.
DBB.
DBB.
He is everything in this show. They will doubtlessly be running into other clones. He is all for... Imagine the Ninja Turtles. And then, but all of the Ninja Turtles are voiced by that guy.
Yeah.
That's what this show is going to be.
I know. Yeah.
I'm hoping he gets 4 times the salary, or at least.
I hope so.
What a dream gig, though, too. Like, just the depth of topic you get to talk about.
Yeah. It's pretty wonderful. I love D. Bradley Baker. I've followed him for years. I have a Rex minifig on my gym bag. I love Rex a lot. I've been into his voice for a very long time. So I'm very happy and proud of him for taking this on. And I'm happy he's got just such a great opportunity. I was concerned about this show that it wouldn't, I'm like, so it's like 5 guys like running through the galaxy, but they've already switched it up.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm still a bit of a shoulder and a bit of an eyebrow.
Yeah. About the choice to do this?
About this show.
Yeah.
But I think that it does have potential.
Yeah, it has things.
I don't necessarily know where they're going to go or what they're going to do. But that also leads me to wonder, what is this show still about?
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
3 years ago is when Dave Filoni and Jennifer Corbett had a conversation and she was brought on to do this.
Okay.
3 full years have passed.
That's good to know how long it takes them.
Yeah, right? It was 2018.
This is a reminder how long the production run times are for these things. And most of the animation was done by CG out of Taiwan.
Correct.
Which did Clone Wars Season 7.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's been 3 years since this show was pitched, put together, generated, iterated, and initiated, all of the steps in association with it.
Yeah.
And that's been a monumental amount of time if you think about it.
Yeah.
A lot of things have happened in the world.
You mean 14 months of COVID?
Not just that, but like there are some major shifts just in Star Wars that have happened in the last 3 years.
Yeah, this is pre-Tross.
This show is literally coming around just
like Solo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that is happening in this show.
It came off the heels of TLJ, and this show is pitched.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This show may have been pitched prior to.
Right. And he was just maybe looking for the right partner.
Exactly.
With it. I know around that time he was made head of all animation.
Yeah.
So that's Dave Filoni. So that's really interesting. I do want to get into some of the other thematic things that I saw in this.
Let's do it. Let's wrap this up. Talk about the themes. Talk about the message and the metaphor of the show.
Well, it was just more like, you know, Omega plays like a very specific role, to your point, like the innocence that they could not save in Caleb.
Yeah.
Right. They come back to save that. But that's also representing like the anima, the inner feminine in themselves that she represents and they must protect. Also the inner child. She also represents these like things that are opposite of them that they must learn to understand about themselves, which is she is a healer. She is a person that is associated with healing rather than killing.
Oh, wait. She's also a crack shot with a blaster, having never picked one up.
Yeah, I mean, genetically modified.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because there's been so much hate about how is she good at that if she's never done it?
Yeah. I love that they're just like, I don't know, I was just good at it. Yeah, that was really good.
It was almost like
you think that was like a little. You think that was a little thumb at the
fanboys out there
of YouTube? Not all fanboys are like that.
I don't think it is. But it's also to say, like, she comes from the same stock. He is genetically talented, and Jango Fett was one of the best bounty hunters, blah, 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 right?
Yeah, and all of these clones are very, very special, and thus she is also special.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is her... We know how she's different, because she's a she.
Yes.
But
there is also something else.
But she's also a crack shot, and that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
It's just how it's going to be.
I do also get a lot of feelings like this is a continuation of almost Sindel from like the Ewok Adventures.
Oh my goodness.
You know, she's a little blonde girl.
Yeah.
And this is a little blonde girl.
Yeah. I got a lot of Ahsoka Tano with just a little bit less of the I want to say whininess, but she was just really just reflecting or deflecting off of Anakin.
Right.
In that beginning bit too.
He was a big jerk.
But also he was like, I don't need to see the child reflected in me. I'm still a child.
Yes, exactly. I don't need to be reminded of my inner child and inner innocence.
Exactly.
And I already know I have mommy issues and lady issues.
The Jedi Order aren't the Duggars. I don't need to raise my own siblings.
Oh my God. What?
Definitely seems to be the case.
What do you think of the name
Council's given me permission
Omega?
to train you. Yeah, well, she's the last.
Of course, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't like they indicated as well that cloning had stopped.
Right.
That there were no more clones that were being ordered, and they said we're ramping up production to begin again. We are ready at any given moment. And
they're like,
I don't know why you're not hiring us to do it.
Aren't you going to need more to keep this whole galaxy?
You want a whole galaxy, right? You're not just a republic.
No, we want it to be an inefficient mess.
It sure seems that way. But when you look at it from a perspective of like, we want to, bring more suffering into the world, this is that is the better way to do it.
So I do want to point out a few things that were done to show the inner feminine, inner vulnerability that she did, as well as to show the inner child. So anytime Hunter was doing something, she would mimic him specifically. So he would sneak up to the hallway and be like, the hand raised, like, let's go this way. And she, like, same knee and everything, did the same hand movement, etc. And then she also found Wrecker's doll, the Tuca, and gave it back to him, which is like that little boy, like, oh my gosh, I needed this comfort.
My little brother left his chosen special companion behind.
Yes. And now she's almost like an older sibling to Wrecker some ways. Like there's
he loves
almost
her unconditionally already.
Yeah. And like certainly Hunter is protective. We haven't seen that built relationship with Echo and with Tech. And, she tried to build a relationship with Crosshairs. So we're going to get some of that probably played on in the future. So I do want to say that she's playing like a deeply psychological role for all of the Bad Batch, which in them of themselves play archetypes of the psyche.
Yeah. Oh, there's one thing I do want to point out, and that it definitely was one thing that I liked about Star Wars, Tarkin, and the Emperor and whatnot, is it definitely seemed like there was a decrease in defense spending budget since they're no longer buying clones.
Right. Yeah. They're like,
like if that's the case, sign me up. I want to be in a world where they're spending less on defense and police budgets.
I mean, they didn't like convince everybody to be at an eternal war to constantly have military spending to send troops overseas. Okay.
The war is over.
the war is over, so they decreased military spending. Weird. That was cool.
Yeah. I don't think that's what happens in the end, but at least at this point,
did Palpatine also take a macroeconomics course on not just macro force economics?
He knows a lot. That man, working his way up from the Senate of Naboo all the way to becoming Galactic Emperor. I mean, there's definitely a great Star Wars biopic about the rise and fall of Palpatine.
I want it to be a mockumentary style, though, with interviews.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And he never really seemed like a Dark Lord to me.
Shreve Palpatine grew up on the streets of Naboo, alone, friendless, without a family.
No. He is from Veracino, which is across the lake from Padme's island.
Oh, okay.
In the Lake Country.
Yeah, on Naboo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like that powerful light, powerful dark kind of thing in Star Wars.
Interesting.
The more you know.
So I'm interested in seeing where this goes metaphorically, because Star Wars has a lot to do with wars.
Yes.
And there's almost always a conversation that's to be had about military ideology, about right and wrong when it comes to the loss of human and alien life.
And droids. Don't forget droids. I count them in there. They're sentient.
Sure. I honestly think that droids are just there because they wouldn't be able to maintain a kid-like war cartoon if two sentient organic races are killing each other.
That's the reason that they exist in the prequels and thus the Clone Wars cartoon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in seeing where this goes now that they're on the run and they're no longer part of
the
whatever
machine
that's coming.
They're part of the machine because they're no longer in the hierarchy and they have to be on their own, and then they have to figure out what they're going to be now that they don't have that structure.
So I'm interested in finding out, do they try to go back for Crosshair, or has Crosshair become
a shadow,
an enemy?
Yeah.
And their most direct threat over the course of this season? It feels like we're getting more than one season of this show.
Most definitely. Yeah. It's supposed to be 16 episodes. TBD on whether that's going to be, they're going to do multiple episodes on the last day or the last week. But every Friday, an episode.
But either way, both Echo and Tech will have a much larger role to play because they just have skills that fit outside the military, go on this mission, do this thing parameter. Hunter and Wrecker are great at go in, destroy this or break that or kill those things, whatnot. And they'll be useful in that regard. Tech and Echo are great for opening doors, closing doors, and getting information. And I think that that's going to be really, really important. So the question then is, and I'm just forming, and I'd like to know what your thoughts are, where we're going to go for these 16 episodes now that we've seen the first, is I get the feeling that they might want to free the clones.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Because they themselves are free.
I love it because that was something that was missing from, the First Order and Tross was like a stormtrooper rebellion and the sin of the Jedi and what happened.
Yep.
Oh my God, I love that so much. I'm going to get weepy if that happens.
I can't see an arc that isn't just a bunch of loosely interconnected buddy stories.
Yeah, and
that has relevancy.
What happens to all of these clones? Nobody really can explain that in Rebels.
Yep.
Oh, you're brilliant. I love you.
Well, what do you think? What did you think was going to happen? I didn't know. I was leaving.
I thought maybe so it's going to be an exploration of them figuring out who they are after, the Clone Wars and after being kind of under the Republic, and they're going to become mercenaries and probably help start the rebellion. That's what I thought. This is so much better.
Cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, it is the only thing that's leading me to hope for next week's or later this week's episode.
Yeah, it's Friday. But, I do... okay. I do think it's going to take them years to get there, right? Like, because they tend to tell stories in like 4-year-ish plus. That's their preference.
Yep.
Although, Resistance was only 2 years. I definitely think they have story to tell for many, 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 many years. But
it's called the Bad Batch, not the Clone Wars.
No, I know.
Right? And they always said the Clone Wars was supposed to be you could jump in at any point, watch that arc, and then the next arc may actually happen before that arc you just saw. It won't really matter because it's another part of the Clone Wars happening elsewhere because it was a galactic spanning war with lots of different sides and lots of different things that occurred. But this is very explicitly the Bad Batch, and that's these 5 people. 6, I guess, people.
Omega's part of them now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Omega's part of the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Our Kaminoan lady, who's totally on our side, definitely ensured that everyone knows that she is one of the 5 because Tech references it later on. No, that Kaminoan lady said the 5 of you, and
Echo's not one of us.
Not one of us.
Yeah. One of us, but not one of us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She wasn't from the same batch.
Yeah. Which also makes me think that maybe she's aging at a normal rate. As opposed to the adult Bad Batch clones, which are probably aging at double rate to age up.
Well, we never really saw any young clones, did we?
We've seen them. Yeah, they always look about 10.
Yeah.
Because that's like half the age, and that's what they showed in the movies in Attack of the Clones.
So one last thing from me.
Okay.
Hunter, when they go back to get Omega, he's like, here's the plan. We split up. We find Omega, we all meet back. And I was like, this is the stupidest plan I've heard from Hunter ever. First, you're going to split up.
Don't split the party.
And then one of you will find Omega because all 5 of you are not going to find Omega.
Yeah. And then how are you going to contact each other?
How are you going to contact each other to meet up back? It was just like, I know it was a quick, loose this is the sort of writing that you need to tighten down, Star Wars, because I'm going to notice it. And then I knew as soon as he said this stupid plan that none of that was going to happen. And they all just got captured and sent to the brig where, lo and behold, they found her. So it was like DM Fiat. I was thinking of it like a role-playing game. It's like the players have come up with this plan. We're going to split up. We're going to go find her. And then we're going to... The DM's like, that's a dumb plan. You're all captured.
oh, by the way, Deus Ex Machina. Bam!
And they're like, stop railroading us. There she is. She's in the brig with you.
Oh,
hey, that's okay. Well, we got what we wanted, right, guys? But then they got to break out of the brig, and that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
I was okay with it, but it's just like, Hunter's much better with his plans. It would have been much cooler if he'd had laid out exactly what the plan was and relied on his allies' skills in a 10-second little snippet rather than say, like, here's the plan. We split up, find Omega, meet back here.
Yeah, I agree. I think this calls for a montage sequence next time. Just like do the montage. We're okay with it.
Yeah, but again, we didn't need a montage because as soon as they walked out,
no, I know they got captured. Yeah.
Nonetheless, I think Jennifer Corbett has a strong hand as one of the lead writers in this episode. I am so excited to see what she has to do and what story she has to tell with these delightful characters that I really like. I really like Crosshair. I didn't even like him.
He was always kind of like the weird one. I do hope for a redemption because I always hope for a redemption in Star Wars. I hope that it is done well. I don't think that they're going to give up on him because
he was manipulated.
I know, but it still counts.
Control.
This
isn't Tam from Resistance.
No, I know, but the dark side is like that, and that's why that's a parallel.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Friday. I hope you who are listening are looking forward to Friday as well.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to finish off, what I would like to ask you at the end of every episode.
Yeah.
The infamous Roger Ebert thumbs up, thumbs down, but with are you sad batch or bad batch?
What about mad batch or rad batch?
Oh,
or fad batch.
Okay, what kind of batch are you, but it has to rhyme with bad batch?
Right, okay.
Okay.
I feel like this was a tad batch.
Okay. I like Rad Badge. You said it, so now I'm going to steal it.
It's a good one.
Yeah. I'm Rad Badge, you're Tad Badge.
Yeah.
And the reasons you're Tad Badge is because it, it
I've explained that throughout.
But
I liked, and again, themes and whatnot, but again, they weren't laid out too foundationally. I felt like we were drinking from a puddle and not from
I just feel like they were
ocean.
trying to drown us, and they had a lot to do to wrap up everything. And I love the clones, and I love like who they are, and I'm most interested because, like, to my point, when we recorded Clone Wars, I'm like, there's always a female here to kind of show
Where's their April O'Neil?
Where's their April O'Neil? I feel like if I can find the clip, I'll add it in. But I was like, this is what's missing from this group. And lo and behold, this is what we get from this group. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited because it's actually leaning into a trope that I do like. I am looking forward to other female characters. And frankly, I would like to see the clones in love. I'm a sucker for it. I would love to see it. We saw it in the Clone Wars. A clone in love. I would love to see like Wrecker heartbroken.
Or Hunter.
Or Hunter heartbroken. Or something that is on the upper adolescent scale of feelings and emotions, right?
Hey, Star Wars, if you don't start showing people how to have strong, progressive, not like romantic relationships, if you don't start showing that, you're not going to be teaching kids how to also have romantic, strong relationships. Were you telling them not to ever have those relationships?
I guess so.
Because that's wrong. Mr. Lucas has loved his wife, Mrs. Lucas, for a very, very long time now. Seems to still be very, very happily married.
Melody Hobson?
Thank you. Mrs. Lucas.
She's a CEO.
That makes good sense. I don't know anything about her. But nonetheless, what I'm trying to say is...
Yes?
George wrote love into his, and he showed relationships throughout his 3 movies, the first 3 that everyone is like, I'm in love with. Part of that is because he shows you how to be a romantic, engaged person. Not sexually engaged or anything like that, but,
it's the emotions and the interconnections. Yeah.
And he showed that in the prequel movie.
Yep.
Star Wars should have that at its fundamental level, period.
I mean, there was some in Rebels, i.e. with Hera and Kanan, certainly.
Yeah. Very weird stuff in Resistance.
It was basically Kaz trying to flirt with women and failing, which is fine. That's representative of itself. But I want to see clones in love. So
it's fair.
Yep. That's what I would like to see. So my ask out to the universe. You've already written all these shows, so
thank you.
Fine.
Yes, it's been I'm just interested in seeing where it goes. Jennifer Corbett wrote a whole bunch of episodes for NCIS. She's been pretty active, or at least trying to be active writing, and now she's got her big break with Star Wars and The Bad Batch, and I think that she's going to nail it out of the park. I think that she's got that level of excitement and investment and a unique enough perspective that we haven't gotten to see much of. And gosh, does she love Star Wars.
I'm really excited. All right. So this is us until next Monday on regular feed, or earlier as soon as we record and I edit on Patreon. I will release them as soon as I'm done editing, when we're done these things. And of course, you can join our Patreon if you would like to. But most importantly, Kyle and I have something exciting going on an entirely different podcast channel.
Yes.
That is coming out, well, probably the day this is released.
Wednesday at 12:01 a.m., which is like 3 hours away for now, for us, just so you know.
Oh, as we're recording? Yeah.
As we're recording.
Yeah.
Yes. Tavern Tales, my actual play weekly podcast, is moving away from Dungeons and Dragons for the next foreseeable future, as we delve into Masks: A New Generation from Magpie Publishing. Do you like teenage superheroes? Do you like tales of hilarious hijinks and emotional struggle?
That's all me in the game.
Do you happen to like tales about teenagers trying to navigate friendships and romantic relationships and dealing with the development of superpowers and emotions that they're not quite good at controlling just yet, well, you're in for a treat, because that's what we're doing. For the next foreseeable future, as I said, we will be releasing about half-hour long stories from our role-playing game sessions that have been edited down into a concrete, very well understood story that also includes the rules and the bits and tells you how to play this game as well. And while my players learn how to play masks and I learn how to run the game,
it's very different than D&D.
Get an opportunity to follow along on our adventure. Tavern Tales has been a award-nominated podcast on 7 different awards, 7 different award types, like the Audioverse Awards, plus the Canadian Podcasting Awards, and many others. We've been nominated 7 different times in multiple different ways, and has been reviewed by good friends of mine and people I hardly even know as it feels like you're sitting in the room next to a bunch of good friends you know very well. That is coming out every Wednesday, and we would love it if you gave it a chance. Check it out wherever podcasts can be found.
And it's going to be called The Rookies, because that's what we all are. And if you're not sick of my voice after listening to this podcast for years now, you can check out all of our backlog on taverntales.ca.
That's right.
Or just search for Tavern Tales on any of your podcast apps. And we're available there. And you can get used to me. I guess I play kind of not very smart characters.
You will hear a different side of Marie Claire that you have never heard before. For her characters throughout have all been quite dumb and not full of forethought. Hey. And, well, who hasn't been dumb?
Drayden, he was smart.
Was he? Maybe he's the smartest, which is saying a lot for your beefcake fighter who just wanted to look good.
Basically a himbo.
Yes.
But, smart-ish.
Sure, like Hunter.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we're all going to go in, and we're going to split up, and then we're going to find her and meet back here.
That would be a Drayden plan. Yes. A normal Drayden plan for sure.
Pretty good. It was Hunter on a bad day. How's that? Yeah.
Well, we will be like Hunter on a good day.
Okay.
And you will get a chance to listen to Tavern Tales on Wednesday, and then we'll be recording and watching Bad Batch on Friday.
And it'll come out
back to this
on every Monday on our regular feed, or if you want to get it as soon as it's hot off the edit presses, come to our Patreon. It's only $1 a month, I guess, to be a Patreon of What the Force. Yep. Where can people find you, Kyle, if they are looking to follow you online?
Well, they can't really follow me or find me because I am at home and will not leave until
on
COVID
Twitter,
is done.
Or on social media.
On social media.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Check me out on Twitter at Tavern Tales DM. You can also find Tavern Tales on most other social media sites.
Facebook, Instagram, even Twitter. But I manage that Twitter along with like 2 other Twitters, so it doesn't get the love that it deserves.
I parceled that a little while ago. You manage the Twitter account. Allison manages the Facebook account, which is the best of all of the social media accounts.
Agree. She should take over the
and
Twitter.
Paige handles the Instagram account, which is just great. But she never does anything with it because she doesn't have any direction. But nonetheless, I'm incessantly tweeting on Twitter every day at Tavern Tales DM.
Yes. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you for the next episode of...
I wonder if it's going to go Clone Wars and then scrape away to Bad Batch again.
Every time?
I don't know. I don't think it will. But
we'll see you next time. Cheers.
We'll have a better outro, like Bad Batch to Clone Wars.
Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music by Christy Carew for What the Force. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force: Brad, Cheryl Bell, Melody, Night Huntress in Wild Space, Felicia, How Rude, Anna Perez, Macau Mom, Neil, James, Joe Allen D, Christian Luca, Josh Johnson, Scott C, Susan, and Adam Dyson. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other pod apps. It helps people find the show. Check out our other channel on YouTube or other podcast feeds, What the Fiction. You can connect with us on Twitter at WT Force Show, What the Force Podcast on Facebook, or our website, whattheforce.ca, or on our Discord. Links are in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.